Okay, thank you so much for spending some time with me today to learn about Microsoft's various Copilot offerings. A couple of quick disclaimers before we get started. So all of the non-technical images, including that amazing pic to the right, were generated with DALL-E. And the prompt template that I used is something along the lines of, can you please help create a prompt that will create a cartoon, the theme of a Pixar animated short that resembles, and I put the Star Wars character that does not violate your content policy, and then execute that prompt. It took a little bit of tweaking to get that right, but ultimately you'll notice throughout this presentation some really awesome images. Second, Microsoft is continuing to innovate and bring new products to market so fast that there's a chance that this presentation might actually be outdated by the time you watch it. So my apologies. I'm doing the best that I can, as everyone else is, with Microsoft moving just so quickly. So you can get an idea of what we're going to talk about today. Here's a brief overview of just who I am, talk about the origin of this presentation. I'm going to share Microsoft's current Jedi offerings, talk about business case development, feature some of the Copilots, and then I'm going to step you through Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Copilot for Sales, Copilot Studio, and then how to get started on your Copilot journey. Let's get started. So first off, a quick introduction. My name is Matfess. I'm a senior director with Slalom, which is a purpose-led global business and technology consulting firm. I've been working with Microsoft technologies for over 20 years, and I've specialized pretty much in modern work. I love speaking about technology, how it can influence and impact the way that we all work. I founded the Connecticut SharePoint Users Group almost 9-10 years ago. And I was a Microsoft MVP in the Office Apps and Services category for 6 years. If you want to connect with me and chat about tech, chat about Copilots, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. And while I'm not busy working or putting on presentations, I'm currently working with a couple of Slalomers on co-authoring the very first book on Microsoft 365 Copilot coming out later this year, which is 2024. That's who I am. I hope you reach out and hope you connect with me. A quick plug for my employer. So I've been with Slalom for almost 10 years now. We're a Microsoft global partner. We've won multiple Partner of the Year awards, lots and lots of Microsoft projects delivered. We've got some great case studies about the impact that we're having. Our true differentiator is we focus on the business outcomes that we're driving, not just the technology. Technology is a means to driving transformation, not the be-all end-all. So hopefully that's just, again, I wanted to quick plug to my employer. It's doing a lot of great work to help support me as I'm doing these presentations and helping to support you all on your Copilot journey. So let's get going. So Copilot, an origin story. Where did this all come to be? So I was meeting with the Microsoft account team that covers Slalom, and we were talking about Copilot Studio and how it might fit in our enterprise portfolio of applications and service offerings, really more for how do we drive our own internal business and operations. And as we were having that conversation and I was asking questions, I was noticing that really it became confusing really fast. And Microsoft marketing is definitely having their Oprah Winfrey moment with Copilot. Everything is a Copilot, and that makes it really complicated as someone that might not be in the day-to-day, monitoring all the various announcements. It becomes kind of it's a bit much, to be honest with you. And so my intent of this presentation was twofold. One, I want to make sure that I had my own internal talk track and my own thoughts around just where to use what in the scheme of Copilot. And secondly, we are a customer of Microsoft, and I think it's very important to navigate the various offerings and come up with a plan around, how do we, wisely invest in this emerging capability to meet the needs of our people. And so ultimately it comes down to how do you build a plan for spending your money wisely with Gen AI and Microsoft. So that was the origin behind this presentation. I hope this is helpful for you all, as you might be in a similar state of just trying to kind of cut through the noise a little bit. So with that, let's tap into Microsoft's Gen AI offerings. I think that'll be helpful. In terms of like the right now, again, January 2024, subject to change, of course, there's two main buckets of offerings. There's Azure OpenAI. And so if you haven't been keeping track, Microsoft made a significant multi-billion-dollar investment in OpenAI and their technology and large language models. Through that investment, what they've done is they've taken those very popular large language models, ChatGPT, GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, DALL-E, and they've packaged that into their Microsoft Azure service offering, which means that you get enterprise security and management right out the gate. So really, the intent of Azure OpenAI is for you to be able to build your own custom generative AI applications. The second offering is more of a, call it Gen AI as a service through Copilot. And what they've essentially done is they've integrated Gen AI across almost their entire product stack, including Microsoft 365. They've built a new one for sales, and I've got a slide that just shows all the various Copilot offerings. And what's nice is it respects the boundary and the context of the user. So, these Copilots don't have more access than the user that's interacting with it. It's all grounded in what they have access to throughout M365 and the various applications. The foundational capabilities of Copilot really is one, content creation. So you're leveraging Gen AI to rapidly create new content such as emails or PowerPoint slides or other creating low code applications and Power Apps. The second is content summarization. So parsing through emails, parsing through Word documents or loop pages, and being able to summarize that content in easily digestible information so that you can focus on the key elements and gain insights versus having to just read these monster threads and monster documents, etc. So foundationally, it's content creation and content summarization. And I want to share with you. So again, my role at Slalom is evangelizing and helping, guide our clients to what technology can best help them realize their desired business outcome. And so part of my role is building out, slides like this to talk about and help explain things in easily digestible ways. This is a slide that I used back in June of 2023, and it's my placemat of the Microsoft various AI offerings, whether it be Azure OpenAI, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Fabric, and Copilot within that. It was a very popular slide. It helped make it easy, right, to follow. What happened, and gosh, I'm gonna preface this, is the next slide that I'm gonna show you is a bit overwhelming, and I intend on generating and creating like that reaction from you because I think it highlights the fact that this Copilot craze is just that. It's a little bit overwhelming. So take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. I'm going to get you through it. Here it is. Not even 6 months later, this is the landscape of Microsoft's AI offerings, including Copilot, Azure AI Studio, etc. And so I'm going to walk you through left to right. The up at the top, these are Microsoft's 6 solution areas. So when you have an account team that's supporting you and you have technical specialists, they come from these various six solution areas. So for example, modern work, that's the umbrella of Microsoft 365 Copilot, which has Copilot across the various Office applications, whether it be OneNote or Teams or PowerPoint. You're able to create content and summarize content through those applications. Under modern work, there's also the Viva Suite. So when you think about Viva Goals, which is about creating objectives and key results and helping to inform people how their work contributes to the larger organizational goals, you can leverage Copilot within Viva Goals to use natural language to help create those OKRs. Super cool. Taking a step to the right, security. So there's Security Copilot, which has Copilots across the various applications within the security suite, whether it be Purview or Intune or Entra. The intent of Security Copilot is helping to not only, parse those large logs of just access and help you cut through the noise of potential threats to your organization, but you can also use Copilot to create policies and help, use natural language to help explain your intent, what you're trying to accomplish, with Copilot helping to navigate those applications and making recommendations for policies. So again, driving or accelerating you to outcomes is the name of the game. On the infrastructure side, there's recently announced that at Ignite was Azure Copilots to help you navigate your Azure experience, to provision resources or help to do cost optimization, etc. There's Copilot within the Windows 11 operating system, service with various applications, whether it be Paint or the snipping tool or Clipchamp, Windows Ink, and then of course Copilot within the Edge browser. The digital applications and innovation solution area, you can use Azure AI Studio, which was also announced at Ignite, to create your own custom Gen AI applications, or you can consider GitHub Copilot for your developers, and it surfaces generative AI through the various IDE clients, whether it be Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio Full, etc. Within data and AI, you've got Copilot within Fabric. So, think about leveraging Copilot within Power BI to ask questions about your dashboards, your visualizations, Azure Data Factory. There's a data science and engineering Copilot. Again, very, very compelling capabilities for your data and AI analysts. And then finally, under the business applications umbrella, you've got Copilot in Dynamics, Sales, Insights, Supply Chain, Finance. You've got Copilot across the Power Platform suite, whether it be Power Pages, Power Automate. There's a Copilot Studio to create your own unique fit-for-purpose Copilots, or to extend first-party Copilots like M365 Copilot. And then finally, there are Copilots for role-specific, meaning you can get Copilot for sales for your sellers that want to interact with CRM data. And then also, if you think about for healthcare providers, through their acquisition of Nuance, there's things like DAX Copilot. So for your clinicians to be able to have a conversation with a patient, it not only captures the notes, but it summarizes it, and it helps you to load that into your EMR, whether it be Epic or Cerner, etc. Overwhelming. That was my intent. Let's take a breath, and let me tell you, it's going to be okay. It's going to get worse before it gets better. My prediction, 6 months from now, that last slide is going to become even more overwhelming. Thankfully, Copilot's going to help me with maintaining that slide to make it hopefully a little bit easier for y'all to consume. I also think 6 months from now, the Copilot confusion is going to keep going. It's just, Microsoft wants to be the Copilot company. They want there to be a Copilot for everyone within their work. I think it's going to keep going. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But I also think that most organizations will have deployed at least one or two of the Copilots on that last slide. And I think that they're going to be working on a plan to go ahead and deploy more. Navigating the Mos Espa marketplace of Copilots. So again, for you Star Wars nerds, like that's for you. Microsoft is bringing Copilots really fast, and the reality is you can't purchase and afford all Copilots for everyone. It's just too much. It also doesn't make sense because you're not going to get value out of these various offerings. My recommendation is to take a persona-based approach to mapping out all these capabilities against the potential prioritized personas within your organization to help you identify who uses which Copilot. And so what do I mean by that? Here's a very high-level persona-based roadmap for Copilot, all the way from the top left. So for your developers, GitHub Copilot is a natural offering. That's going to introduce generative AI into their software development tools, allows them to not only create code faster, but also leverage chat to ask questions about the code, ask questions about what they're trying to accomplish, and to get recommendations. So think of it as a Gen AI as a senior developer helping to coach along the young Padawan developers to become Jedi Masters. Right? That's the intent of GitHub Copilot. For your knowledge workers, Microsoft 365 Copilot is going to be phenomenal. It's going to allow them within their flow of work, Teams, PowerPoint, Excel, to be able to rapidly create content and shift from being the creator to being the editor. Sales execs are going to benefit from Copilot for Sales. It's going to allow them to keep CRM up to date, and and help to ensure that people are aware of the latest updates on their opportunities, and allows them to spend more time with their customers. We touched on briefly before, your security admin or your CISOs or security architects, etc. They're going to leverage Security Copilot to cut through the various logs and to help just support threat hunting and to ensure that they're maintaining the integrity of your security boundary within Microsoft 365, and they're keeping your organization safe, doing more with less. Now, your frontline workers, they're going to most likely benefit from, specific Copilots built for them, whether it be something that looks up inventory or helps them navigate benefits or pulls up their pay stub or helps recommend, what to do next. You're going to want to leverage something like Copilot Studio to create either a custom Copilot or to extend one for them. Your data analyst will benefit from Power BI Copilot to help either create new dashboard visualizations or to get clean key insights from existing dashboards. Your contact center reps would benefit from Copilot D365 Service Copilot. Your citizen developers can go ahead and leverage Copilot within the Power Platform suite, whether it be within Power Apps or Power Pages. They might also be leveraging Copilot Studio if they're building low-code Copilots. So again, this is really thinking, look at your organization, look at the people, look at the work that they do, and you want to align Copilots based on their work. And then you prioritize based on who has availability, you base it on business case, and then you work through, where to begin from there. All right. Speaking of business case, I want to touch on that briefly because I think it's important. What's in a business case? GenAI might be new technology, but building a business case around investing in technology is definitely not new. When you look at GenAI and look at these Copilots, really here are my recommendations for 4 elements you can and should measure when investing in GenAI. First is obvious, productivity gains. And the intent is you're not going to just free up time and that's going to be a bottom line savings. Really, you're going to leverage that freed up time to reinvest that back into your business. Tackling new things perhaps you couldn't do before. Second is it's going to improve your quality, the quality of your output. I think we're all, in a stage where we're doing more with less. Leveraging Gen AI and shifting from creator to editor is something that's going to, help to improve your overall quality. I'm spread across a lot of things. And ultimately, I find when I'm super stressed, the quality of my output suffers. But Gen AI allows the quality to come up a bit because I don't have to spend quite as much time in that creator mode. Third, employee engagement. So having access to this technology certainly is an opportunity where I shift from doing a lot of mundane administrative work, and not only do I gain productivity, but I feel more engaged, more empowered, more excited in the work that I do. And then finally, you might want to look at talent acquisition. So, I know that as part of that, attracting the top talent, you want to have the latest and greatest capabilities. Showcasing the fact that you're investing in Gen AI could be a differentiator for you within your industry or within your organization. So, consider that as part of your business case. I had a meeting with our CFO and talking about what does he look for? We're going to be measuring both, quantitative and qualitative for M365 Copilot. Some of the things that, as we were talking about, how do we approach it? I'm going to make some recommendations from this. Again, just sharing what I learned. One is obviously don't forget to capture baseline prior to rolling out, one of these Copilots. When it comes to, getting qualitative, less is more. People do not want to be inundated with survey questions. Use something like Viva Pulse to get, less than 10 questions is ideal. If you don't have Viva Pulse, use Microsoft Forms. And then if you are not getting responses, consider setting up a meeting, 5-10 minutes, a check-in, or even asking people why are they not able to answer your survey questions, because it's important to be able to understand how Gen AI is having impact on the work that they do to help feed your business case. again, as an illustrative, like what does this all look like? Here's a high-level framework of how you can capture across personas productivity, quality, net promoter score, meaning, how is this impacting employee engagement? You can do a calculation and figure out the impact. Every organization is different and how they capture this. FTE rates will differ. Quality, you might want to put a dollar amount to, as well as net promoter score. I just want to say, like, from an end in mind perspective, think through capturing and reporting on your investment using something like this. Next, I talked about it really briefly, but when you think about the quote unquote savings, it really needs to be in the context of it's not bottom line savings. Like, you're not going to be spending less money on X, Y, or Z, but really you're reinvesting in your business. Either you're addressing lingering problems that you haven't been able to tackle because everybody's too busy, you're improving quality, or you're enabling your organization to scale, not just by having to hire people and throw bodies at problems, but you're freeing up mental capacity to be able to tackle these challenges. You're using this to help people do more with less. And again, I just want to show you, this is a couple of ways that you can reinvest in your organization through your investment in Gen AI. And one more plug of just, again, what I'm finding is there's a lot of companies that are, touting huge savings, all this benefit. I think it's important as you venture into Gen AI to think about what you have to do to report out to your executives. And what we've been talking a lot about with our clients is having, an enterprise dashboard around, measuring impact of Gen AI. And so, like, from an end in mind perspective, I highly recommend you considering leveraging something very similar within your organization to help measure and demonstrate impact. As we're getting into it, just calling out a couple of featured copilots, because again, that slide a couple back was very overwhelming. I intend on digging into these four areas, these four copilots. Microsoft Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Copilot for Sales, and Copilot Studio. And I'd also highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, to go ahead and bookmark that site below, because Microsoft continues to release new copilots, and I think it's important for you to keep an eye on what's coming. And so that's a great reference for you to leverage later on. Okay, so Copilot, aka Bing Chat Enterprise. I'm gonna call it. This was basically, I feel like Microsoft marketing is slightly out of control with renaming Bing Chat Enterprise to be Copilot. However, at the highest level, what this is basically you get access to the latest GPT-4 and DALL-E 3 models. You get sources for generated responses. Answers are with up-to-date information. So basically, it is accessing the internet to help resolve and to provide information to you based on what you prompt. And then finally, security is available, meaning that you can have this service comply with the Microsoft data protection controls that you've already agreed to as part of your M365 subscription. Assuming you use your Microsoft Entra ID, which used to be Azure Active Directory, to authenticate to the service. From a pricing and availability perspective, so in Copilot, from the Bing Chat Enterprise, it's available at no cost. It's available across many of the enterprise SKUs. You can also use it from a personal perspective, and the admins, assuming that you're an enterprise, can enable controls within the admin center to ensure that your prompts, your responses are all covered under the commercial data protection agreement when signed in. So what does that mean, that commercial data protection from a non-lawyer perspective? So essentially, Copilot uses their Entra ID to authenticate. It knows the tenant, to make sure that you're covered under the data protection controls, but that's it. What you query, the response is back. Microsoft doesn't have eyes on that. So that is all secure. And all your prompts to the service and back, it's all covered under it's TLS, so it's encrypted in transit and at rest. And I'm going to reiterate one more time, like, Microsoft is not training the data models based on what you're prompting the service for. So again, like, you can go ahead and ask all sorts of questions, and it's not training the model based on that. There's now an app for that. So if you would like the power of Copilot in your pocket, iOS and Android, there are apps available through the various marketplaces. So go download them. I would say that that this is a comparable sort of service to ChatGPT. Very, very similar. Available through the iOS and Android applications. So Copilot versus Microsoft 365 Copilot. Which one? So Copilot is web data. Copilot can create text and images from that web experience. And you can also use Copilot to summarize or analyze PDF files. So that's the Copilot service, which is available to everyone, again, at really no cost. Copilot for Microsoft 365, however, is with your company data and web data. And all the files are accessed to the graph. And the experiences of interacting with Copilot are through the Microsoft 365 applications within the overall M365 service. And one other kind of fun call out is Microsoft, again, wants to be the Copilot company. Satya said that at Microsoft Ignite back in November. There is now going to be a key on Windows keyboards for Copilot. This is the first major change to a keyboard layout in like 30 years. So that's how impactful Copilot is and is going to be. And so just the fact that it's going to update keyboards is pretty darn cool. Okay, so that's Copilot. And now I want to dig into Microsoft 365 Copilot. So in a nutshell, November 1st, 2023, it became generally available. There was an early access preview program prior to that was open to some organizations. But at the heart of it, Microsoft is bringing Gen AI into the main applications that you use on a day-to-day basis in Microsoft 365. In Word, in PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, and Teams, Loop, and Whiteboard, you're going to be able to have a conversation with Copilot. It is going to help create content or summarize content across those experiences. And you're going to shift from being a creator, an author, to being more of an editor. And it's going to be incredibly powerful. It's just going to take you some time to make that mind shift for how you work. So how does this all work? So the main components for Copilot for Microsoft 365 include the large language models. And so that's what recognizes your text and predicts the desired outcome, whether it be text or images or PowerPoint slides, etc. These large language models leverage the Microsoft Graph. And remember, that is the sort of one API to rule them all within the Microsoft 365 service. This is the key differentiator, and why this service is so powerful is it has context into who you are, the people that you work with, your email calendar, your OneDrive, the teams that you're a part of, etc. The service includes the Microsoft 365 apps. We talked about that on the previous slide. Word, PowerPoint, Excel. That's how you're going to interact with the service. And then finally, all this is grounded with web. So if there are going to be use cases where Copilot will reach out to the internet and it will ground that response back with real-time internet data. And don't forget, it's going to reference where it found that information from. And all of these capabilities are available and delivered within the security and integrity of the Microsoft 365 cloud. From a fine print perspective, because I'm a fine print details kind of guy sometimes, Copilot for Microsoft 365 is an add-on, and it's only available for users with E3 or E5 licenses, meaning your frontline workers would not be eligible to have Copilot as an add-on. There is also a 1-year annual commitment with a minimum purchase of 300 licenses. And from a cost perspective, that comes up to about $108,000 a year that you're going to be committing to annually to have Copilot. And there are no trials currently available for Microsoft 365 Copilot. That's as of the date of this recording, January 4th. So again, these are some of the details that you have to be aware of when you're looking at Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, a very cool and to the Microsoft 365 Copilot stack is Copilot Lab. And so Microsoft has called out that this new way of working is in fact a shift. and getting people comfortable and familiar with prompting across the Microsoft 365 application experiences is going to be new. Therefore, everyone that has a Microsoft 365 Copilot license will have access to Copilot Lab. And that is a cloud-based service where where users can share and get like art of the possible ideas around what they can do to prompt Copilot for great outcomes, whether it be brainstorming or drafting frequently asked questions or creating paragraphs or creating variations of things. These are some examples which you can go ahead and favorite. Eventually, there will be the ability to create your own enterprise prompts that you'll share with your users. So stay tuned. This is a very powerful additional capability available as part of your Microsoft 365 Copilot investment. Now let's do a couple of quick demos. And so to start, I'm going to share with you doing a demo of Copilot within the PowerPoint experience. So I was working on a deck for some of our users, and the prompt that I'm going to put to Copilot is I would like it to help create a slide that talks about what participants in the Copilot cohort should expect from a time perspective. Participation in experiments, office hours, and surveys, and so that they are aware as we're onboarding them and sharing with them what needs to be done. So this is me coming out of the pilot seat into the Copilot seat and letting Copilot create the first draft of this slide. And so I'm a huge PowerPoint nerd. I don't love the layout and the picture that was selected. And so I'm going to iterate on this with Copilot and ask it to replace the image with the business professionals working together. Like you'll find when I create PowerPoint slides, there's always people because people are at the heart of what I do. And so you'll watch Copilot is doing its thing. It's looking for images, and the little thing in the bottom shows that it's about to take a Copilot action. I now have a new layout. I've got a new image, and I've got a nice bulleted list of items. And that can, if I want to, I could revert the changes back, or I'm going to leave it as is for now. But just want to show you that you can start to iterate on the output of Copilot as part of your work. Now, this is my absolute favorite. So here's an example of a team that a meeting that I was a part of. And within the team's experience, I'll be honest with you, I was not paying attention during this meeting. 10 minutes prior to the call wrapping, Copilot gives a nudge. So you got 10 minutes left in your meeting. You can ask Copilot for notes and action items to help wrap things up. Notice I'm wearing the exact same hoodie as I was in that particular meeting. Well, close enough probably. So I'm going to go ahead and click up Open Copilot. Now this is a pane that nobody else can see. And I'm asking it to generate meeting notes. So again, not paying attention. Copilot is doing its thing. It's pulling back from the transcript, starting to figure out what was said, what were the key actions, who said what did we agree to. Again, that is my Jared is not paying attention phase. I'm laughing, pretend like I'm totally part of the thing, but I'm not. I'm not paying attention, not listening. But boom, I am watching the Copilot panel in the right-hand corner showing that, hey, talking about making changes to the kickoff deck. There's some adding a slide to a quick start guide. So super powerful. If you think about behavior change, think about when your executives join meetings late, rather than asking people to give a quick update or rehash what was started talking about, they could join the meeting, engage with Copilot, ask what's been talked about thus far, and then not have to disrupt that call. Huge cost savings, huge value to the organization. Here's another one. So within Microsoft Loop, which is kind of this web-based collaboration space, much lighter than a team, I'm going to go ahead and ask Copilot to help brainstorm 10 use cases for Gen AI within a healthcare provider setting. So it's going to go ahead and do its thing. And I'll be honest with you, I did a little bit of movie magic here to speed things up a little bit. But notice I can go ahead and it'll produce 10 items. I can also then ask, with even my typo of, can you please bold each use case? So again, I could go back though 1 through 10, highlight, bold, but I just want to show that you can do other things besides change tone and change text. You can also change formatting. So if you haven't played around with Loop, it's a great place to start to brainstorm. And I also really like that you can see the progression of prompts to see how you got to where you are from your initial just interaction with Copilot. Now let's talk about driving adoption. So if you notice, my theme is persona based because again, tech is not the be all end all. Tech is a means to drive transformation. I strongly believe that when it comes to driving adoption of Microsoft 365 Copilot, you got to take a people-focused approach to understand where people are, the work that they do, and extract out moments that matter that you can align with the benefits of Copilot. And so an example of that is, here's a quick day in the life of that we've put together and shared with clients. Imagine this fictitious IT project manager leading a large finance transformation project. And imagine coming back from a long weekend and asking M365 chat, what are the 3 most important emails that they should respond to? Imagine Copilot coming back and saying, hey, there's an escalation that came in while you were out. Please respond to this email. So George goes into Outlook and starts to draft a response. Now, of course, he could use Copilot to help draft that, but there's also a capability called Copilot Coaching, which is summarizing information and evaluating it. And so he can use that for ensuring that the tone is professional, that his response is readable, and that responding to an escalation doesn't create additional escalations. Imagine if George goes from Outlook then to his stand-up, and he uses that Copilot experience within Teams, just as I showed you before with nudging him to start wrapping up, and he can quickly create meeting summary of talking points. And imagine if he also uses it to find out any decisions. Now, a decision could go from the Teams meeting into his status report that's most likely managed in PowerPoint. And if I'm the one that made a decision, it's probably long-winded. Therefore, using the ability to iterate on that decision within the PowerPoint experience to condense it to get to the true point of it, he could do that himself, or he can ask AI to help support that. And now that he's got all this free time, imagine using that to go ahead and look at some of the enhancement requests. You can use Copilot within the Excel experience across tabular data to gain insights, such as, create a pivot table to pinpoint which features would deliver the most value based on priority and business outcome. So again, just a high level, like showing these day in the life of examples helps you demonstrate to people what's possible with the technology. It also helps you unlock potential use cases that you can measure to ensure that as you survey and quantify, are you gaining value out of your Copilot investment? Exact same thing. I did this with a senior recruiter. Imagine someone that's recruiting mostly for business analysts. Now is being asked to go ahead and interview a C# developer. You could use Copilot within the Word experience to ask what were some questions that you might want to ask a senior C# developer. It can go out to the internet. It can find you questions. It can also give you the answers to look for. And then imagine if Archana goes from the Word experience to actually having that interview with the candidate, using the Teams transcript, recording the meeting, leverage the Teams transcript, asking Copilot to assist with note-taking, extract out, the answers that the candidate provided, go into PowerPoint and leverage Copilot to help create that one-pager to either help build the case to hire this person, etc. And then finally to go into Outlook and to use Copilot to help quickly create an email back to the candidate to let them know that, hey, it was a really successful interview. We're looking forward to connecting more. So again, just want to show examples of how you can leverage Copilot across the experiences as a different persona. Great way to drive value. I also want to share too, just from a customer journey perspective, here are the patterns that I'm seeing. I'm seeing people start off with pre-purchase where, it's a mix of IT and business leaders wanting to know what Copilot can do. And then there's a lot of back and forth with Microsoft around data security. And then there starts to be some ideation around business case, building a business case, and which persona should we target? And then they go purchase the 300 licenses. Piloting is all about change management. This is not a technology project. This is a transformation project. We're going to train people on prompt engineering, how to engage with Copilot as a service. We're going to create success criteria and measures, qualitative and quantitative. There's going to be office hours to help mobilize change champions, to help train people, to help share lessons learned, and then you're going to measure to help inform a larger scale rollout across multiple areas of your business. Implementation is basically a scaled version of piloting. However, at that point, you really want to mobilize some sort of COE that'll be responsible for any sort of Copilot extensibility. Noted, like for when you talk about extending, out of the box, Copilot supports everything in the Microsoft Graph. That includes, again, your email box, your OneDrive, Teams, etc. But there are graph connectors. And so you can reach out to ServiceNow, to Salesforce. You can build plugins that connect to Workday. And so thinking through your strategy for extending Copilot into those services is going to be incredibly pivotal when you talk about your enterprise transformation with Copilot. So again, I want to give you a quick feel for what M365 Copilot is and why you should care about it. And then next, we're going to talk about Copilot for Sales, aka Sales Copilot, aka Viva Sales. Okay, so Copilot for Sales, aka Viva Sales, aka Sales Copilot, is all about improving the seller experience. The value that Microsoft is bringing to the table is empowering sellers to go ahead and continue to work in the experiences that they're used to, whether it be Outlook and Teams, while having direct access to CRM data, whether it be within Dynamics 365 or within Salesforce.com. Some of the features that I like to highlight are as follows. So from within Outlook, you can leverage email summarization to go ahead and quickly summarize key points from a really long email thread. You can also tap into Draft with Copilot functionality, which allows AI to assist with replying to customer inquiries. It can suggest calendar availability. You can check tone, etc. There's some update CRMs. You can go ahead and add contacts to CRM or save emails directly to CRM from within the Outlook experience. And then also, as you're working within Outlook, you can get quick context, activity around that opportunity, activity around that account, etc. So again, you don't have to switch between Outlook and your CRM. It's all within the Outlook experience. There's also this really cool functionality called collaboration spaces. So if you think about the life cycle behind, a lead converting to an opportunity to then pulling in individuals to help propose a solution for your customers, there's this capability called collaboration spaces. And so you're linking the account record in your CRM to Teams. And so, for example, like if your customer, your Slalom customer, you'd associate that within your CRM to a team of all your Slalom opportunities. And then you can create these deal rooms per opportunity. And actually it'd be two based on templates. One would be an internal channel, like they'll sit within the team for you to collaborate on the proposal, statement of work, any sort of contracting details, as well as an externally facing one if you wanted to be able to invite your customers to review that versus sending them large attachments, or to be able to chat with them within the Teams experience, that within that channel in your Teams tenant. So again, very cool collaborative sort of driving automation, driving repeatability for how you collaborate and serve your customers. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the Teams experience. And so, think about you as a seller, right? And selling is very much a relationship game. Being close to your customers, meeting them where they are, maybe grabbing lunch or meeting them up for coffee. And so sometimes when you're out in the field as a seller, you might get pinged back from your manager. Hey, I'm curious about this particular opportunity that I see within the CRM. Could you give me some more information about it? And rather than having to have them send you a link to the opportunity, you can send these adaptive cards, which feature things like the account, the contact, the opportunity value, etc. So you can go ahead and see that within the context of Teams. So again, you pull up your mobile, your manager's pinging you. You can see it from, little adaptive card. Oh yeah, I'm meeting with a client today. Hopefully we'll have an update as soon as I get back. So again, making it easier for people to stay connected to the opportunities. I want to call out, which I think is one of the biggest, perhaps most game-changing bits of functionality coming to or available through Copilot for Sales or Sales Copilot. It's conversational intelligence. So imagine meeting with your customer and you record the meeting and taking that transcription, what was spoken, which is converted into text, and extracting out things like sentiment. Was there any points during the conversation where the tone may have shifted? Being able to go tap into keyword mentions or getting a recap of what happened. Even more importantly, imagine being able to then go from this meeting to starting to have a email follow-up and referring to that from the Outlook experience, or creating a CRM task for all of that process automation, things that are very manual, being able to drive more automation. That's some of the really amazing capabilities being brought forward with this Copilot. taking you through just sort of, again, the day in the life of, because I think this is where the rubber hits the road. So imagine this sales executive, Darren, loves meeting with his customers, loves going ahead and grabbing coffee, but he doesn't always get a lot of enjoyment keeping CRM up to date. He was just given a Copilot for Sales license and is optimistic this might help. So imagine he starts his day in Outlook, drafting an email to a friend of his, and Copilot helps him create that initial cold call email. He then is able to obtain a meeting with that customer, and he invites Copilot for Sales to that meeting, records the meeting, extracts out of the transcript, and he's able to capture key points on an opportunity that's been bubbling. After that call, he can use Sales Copilot to draft a follow-up meeting to that contact, helping to let them know when they should expect a follow-up, a proposal, etc. And it makes it faster to go offer up some maybe free time when they can sync up. Next, he goes ahead and pings his data specialist for that particular opportunity. He tags them and shares that adaptive card within the context of Teams, and he's able to then have them hop into that collaboration space to start putting together a proposal. So again, automation within people's flow of work. Outlook in Teams for collaborating and driving opportunities forward with AI. So, Copilot for Sales versus M365 Copilot. I imagine you can start to see a little bit of overlap. Here's some of the differentiators with Copilot for Sales. So A is the CRM integration. Dynamics and Salesforce are out of the box and available across the Outlook and Teams experience. Drafting an email based on a meeting recording is another differentiator, as well as that conversational intelligence, keyword sentiment and coaching. Adaptive cards as well, so being able to share either a contact record, an opportunity, an account within the flow of Teams, as well as that collaboration space automation. Next, the question you might get is, all right, so Jared, that's kind of cool. How much does it cost? So it's, again, a subscription. It's $40 per user per month to go ahead and leverage that. And so that gives you all those generative AI features. At this point, there's no minimum purchase like M365 Copilot just yet. And so a reaction that I get, just again, honestly, talking to different clients is, oof, it's kind of expensive. I want to go ahead and just do a side-by-side comparison, right? And I think it's important to call out that, all of this Gen AI capability is, there's a premium to it. But when you start to look at Salesforce.com licensing versus Dynamics 365 licensing, honestly, it's not that expensive. And even if you think about like Dynamics 365 plus M365, you're still much cheaper than the unlimited package from Salesforce.com. Unlimited and actually Unlimited Plus. So I just want to call out that while there might be an initial reaction to the individual licenses, when you look holistically at what it might cost from a CRM perspective, it is still quite compelling on the Microsoft side. I also, to call out Copilot for Sales versus M365 Copilot, who gets what? I don't want to get into the complication of there's a bundled SKU for both Copilot for Sales and M365 Copilot. However, to keep it very simple from a recommendation perspective, Copilot for Sales is really the individuals who are responsible for relationship management. They are keeping CRM up to date. They're hosting meetings. They're sending follow-ups. They're the people. Microsoft 365 Copilot is for your creators, the people who will be building proposals, help drafting statements of work, doing pricing models, or helping to pull together, compelling reasons for why your organization have a differentiator, like why the client customer should work with you further. So again, the who gets what, that's kind of a high level rule for thumb. If your organization has budget and can afford both for individuals, go for it. But if you're looking for how do we go ahead and figure out who gets what, this is some of my recommendations for that. Lastly, so Copilot Studio, let's hop into this. So I want to call out that Copilot Studio is actually not a Copilot. At its core, what it is it's the platform that allows you to either extend an existing first-party Copilot by building plugins, or it allows you to create a standalone Copilot that is fit for purpose. When I say first-party Copilots, I'm really talking about, and actually I'll show you, it's M365 Copilot. It's some of the Copilots in Dynamics. It's Copilot for Sales. This Copilot Studio allows you again to extend and customize, to create really rich experiences leveraging generative AI to help solve real business problems. And actually, I think that a presentation tells 1,000 words. So come with me, if you may, for an art of the possible. So was working with a client on this idea. They're a Microsoft shop, but they've also got Workday, and they're actually going live with Workday later this year. And so I said, man, imagine, if you may, using M365 chat to go ahead and to access or to extend that to other experiences beyond just Microsoft 365. So this example is, if you ever play with ChatGPT, imagine creating a Copilot where it's about creating feedback for someone. So I'm going to create some feedback for this gentleman, David Rose, that he did some cool work in SharePoint. And so just like ChatGPT, you can go ahead and change it, iterate, create the, modify the tone, make it more professional. Cool. So imagine it does that, but instead of having copy and paste, imagine asking Copilot to submit that feedback in Workday on your behalf, and it does it. Don't have to leave the Teams experience, does it right there through a plugin. Now, this is a fictitious healthcare provider. Imagine asking Copilot to find a pay stub, and imagine if it goes and pulls a quick reference guide, or it pulls the pay stub in line. But what if the pay stub's wrong? What about there? You can further refine that Copilot plugin to go ahead and create an incident on behalf of that user, so they don't have to leave the Teams experience. They don't have to figure out who to contact. They don't have to go create a ServiceNow ticket. They can do that all within Copilot. So a key point I want to make is conversation is going to be the new UI for interacting with these large enterprise experiences. So again, I want to say this, using Microsoft Copilot to go ahead and engage with ServiceNow, to engage with Workday, to engage with Salesforce. That is the future. That is why Microsoft stock at $325 is still a bargain and going to probably go up even further, because really they are the Copilot company. And there's 300 plus million monthly active users in Microsoft Teams. Further extending the Teams experience to have access to those backend systems is a game changer for most organizations. So a question I get next is pricing. So unlike a per user per month, Copilot Studio pricing is all based on messages. So you having conversations with it. $200 per month, you get 25,000 messages. There's SKUs for, obviously, if you go beyond that. Licensing, your mileage may vary. You got to talk to your account team, but just back of the napkin, that's the expected cost that you should see for Copilot Studio. And then next, I want to just briefly touch on some persona-based use cases. So here's some examples, and I want to touch on frontline workers. So whether it be a paycheck lookup or work step instructions for how to perform a particular task, from if you're working in retail and you want to go ahead and do inventory management. Do we have this hoodie in size medium? Maybe shift scheduling. Hey, Copilot, I've got Copilot. Can you please help sub out, I want to call out sick. Can you find a replacement for me? Or, going ahead and using it to report a safety incident or to look up a policy procedure. Those are all examples of how you can build a custom Copilot for your frontline workers. And you can deploy that experience through chat, through Teams, or etc. For your knowledge workers. So, benefits lookup, policies, procedures, knowledge management. These are all great use cases for Copilot. Reporting a problem, finding a location. And then finally, Copilot Studio, it's not just for internal users. You can go ahead and deploy these Copilots for external parties, customers, partners, etc. Embed these on your website and have it provide product recommendations, lookups, of contacts, people, etc. Or have it serve as that front line before people get passed off to your customer service reps. And so again, let's hop into just a really quick lightweight demo. So I'm not a developer. I create a very simple demo with Slalom.com. And so I'm an old school SharePoint guy. I create a SharePoint list with a couple of contacts, email addresses, and alliances. And so I very quickly built a Slalom.com Copilot. I pointed this at our website, and it's able to index that, and it's able to perform, when I perform prompts at it, I can go do a lookup against our website. So here, I'm going to ask, does Slalom work with Microsoft? And obviously, of course we do, because that's my job. So, all right, so Slalom work with Microsoft. It's going to go ahead and look and query. And the really nice thing is it's going to go ahead when it comes back with a response is it's not only going to say, yes, Slalom has a partnership with Microsoft, but it's also going to provide where it found that within our website. Next time I say, hey, I'm looking for an alliance contact. And so it's going to go ahead and, alliance partner. Hit enter. It's going to serve up Microsoft, AWS, Google. I'm going to click Microsoft, of course. Why wouldn't I? And it's going to go look up and pull up me as that contact. So you saw that list. The way that I built that behind the scenes is this concept of topics within Copilot Studio. So if you ever play with Power Virtual Agents, very, very similar. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to the top so you can go ahead and take a look. And so the trigger is looking for alliance contact, search for alliance contact. It's going to go ahead and there's some logic where, scroll down a little bit, I'm going to serve up the multiple choice options. That's me prompting the user to pick Microsoft, AWS, and Google. And then finally, it'll go ahead and scroll over and then I'm going to scroll down a little bit. So within Copilot Studio, I can call Microsoft Power Automate. And so I built a really simple Power Automate flow that performs that lookup against that SharePoint list. So let's go ahead and edit that so you can see that logic. So again, if you've played around with this, if you're an old school SharePoint person or been playing with Microsoft Flow, which became Power Automate, you can see that I've got a get items action. It goes against the SharePoint list. I have a filter with alliance equals the passing the variable from what they picked. And then boom, Bob's your uncle. That's how this all got pulled together. I had this stood up in less than an hour. Is it completely production ready? No. But is it a wicked cool demo? Yes, of course it is. So where to go next? I think, just want to call out when you're thinking about where to begin your Jedi adventure, here's some of my recommendations. Microsoft Copilot's a no-brainer. It's free. Get it turned on. Start to train your users with how to prompt. Next, talk about M365 Copilot. I think that is a game changer for almost all organizations. Completely impactful. It's going to change the way that people work. I also think Copilot for Sales is another honestly, it's a game changer for your sellers. It's going to really improve their seller experience. It's going to drive better seller outcomes. It's going to be incredibly powerful. And then have in your back pocket Copilot Studio for frontline workers, because the really cool thing is that example I showed with Workday, you can create that and have your frontline workers access it. And you can also surface that up for your knowledge workers who might access it through Microsoft 365 Copilot. And then finally, your developers should be using GitHub Copilot. We have found a 50% increase in productivity internally. I think that as clients and as developers get more ingrained with it, it's going to be even higher. And then finally, thank you. Thank you for spending your time. I hope this webinar was impactful. I encourage you to please, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, any help, any support you need, I would love to geek out with you on Copilot. I am super stoked. I hope you found this to be a lot of fun. I thank you so much for your time. And looking forward to transforming how we work with Copilot. Thank you so much. Have a